and welcome to Inside The UPSL on TV Max and on TVEmax.com. You can also find us on Twitter, Facebook, and on Instagram. That is at UPSL Soccer. I'm your host, Alex Naveja. With me tonight is Simon Allen.
What? Hey, what's up, Alex?
It's good to have you,
Thanks,
Simon.
mate.
And alongside Simon is the man, Dennis Pope.
What's up, guys?
Pleasure to have both of you gentlemen here
Thank
with
you.
us tonight, as we're here every Thursday to bring you guys the latest news on the fastest growing pro development soccer league, the UPSL. And now we'd like to welcome you guys into Off the Top, where we introduce the top 3 stories in lower division soccer. And of course, the US Open Cup first round is officially on the books as Cal FC dominated on FC Mulhouse Portland, while the Milwaukee Bavarian SC falls short on against Forward Madison FC, where we look at Florida Soccer Soldiers playing against FC Miami over here on Wednesday night. What do you guys make on the results so far?
It was a great 2 days for the first round of the U.S. Open Cup for the UPSL. 2 teams move on out of the 3. Unfortunately, Bavarian does not. Last season's UPSL champion ran up against somewhat of a buzzsaw against Forward Madison, losing 2-0. But the UPSL will place 2 teams in the second round of the U.S. Open Cup. Cal FC, who you did mention, they beat FC Mulhouse Portland. It's a mouthful, 5-1. Some really great goals in that game here in Southern California. And then down in Florida on Wednesday night, Soccer Soldiers pulls off the upset against Miami FC, last season's NPSL champion. They get a 2-1 victory, scoring 2 goals in the second half to come from behind and win. So a massive first 2 days for the UPSL and U.S. Open Cup play.
Listen, Cal FC, we're up 4-1 at the end of the first half during the U.S. Open Cup play. They had this pretty much cemented. I think here in Irvine, the hat trick by a fellow by the name of Burosh, I think, and at the end of the day, this guy has some pedigree. He played in Major League Soccer with the Chicago Fire and I think Orlando City, also an Israeli national team player. So when you have a talisman like that, you're expected to do things like this. Second half was, again, a bit of a, I think, I want to say easier, but the 5th goal really cemented it in when it comes to it. So I think, having a team like Cal FC representing UPSL in the U.S. Open Cup, they could go far. And, they've, for those who don't know out there, they're pretty kind of folkloric, legendary kind of team in UPSL, in US Open Cup as well as UPSL, for beating a Major League Soccer team. So if they can, we want them to succeed.
Right.
Good match, good result, and a good advertisement for UPSL.
Yeah, they made it to the 4th round of the 2012 U.S. Open Cup. They beat Portland Timbers along the way, of course, in that tournament to set up this run as sort of a back to the future sort of episode for Cal FC. They have a few players returning from that team, including Richie Menjivar and Danny Barrera. Richie Menjivar scored that 5th goal on Tuesday night. It's just a really well-rounded group that Cal FC has again, so it should be an exciting matchup. They move on to play Las Vegas Lights in the second round. Of Las Vegas Lights, of course, is coached by Eric Winalda, the former coach of Cal FC during that 2012 run. So it's sort of a culmination of a lot of different things going on in that match.
On top of that, there was a player for the Portland team that actually played for the Timbers, 30-year-old player whose name escapes me. They played for 3 years, so there's a lot of history going on over there, and the idea that Cal FC moving on is very delicious for anyone who historically looks at the U.S. Open Cup. And if they do go far again, it's just one of those things that just revs up the tournament a little bit.
Yep, tasty for sure.
Yeah.
So Simon, you talk about tasty, definitely, and some tasty things going on in the UEFA Champions League.
Yes.
And I see you wearing the Liverpool hat right now.
Yeah.
Exciting times for you guys, right?
Listen, it was so exciting that when I yelled so much that I lost my voice, and then I realized I had to come on the show, and I thought, oh man! So I bought my little thing over there. If you can't hear me, I lost my voice, so I bought this just in case. It says shout. All right, but no, it was beautiful match. I don't know how long I can probably do a 4-hour show on it. Probably the best semi-final match in history. Probably one of the best matches I've seen. I was a few hundred miles away in 2005 from Istanbul, and I thought that was probably the best Champions League final. I wish this was the final because then I could say, wow, that was amazing. And and then obviously Tottenham doing the same thing again against Ajax. going to be a wonderful final. But Liverpool getting to the final, as a Liverpool fan, I couldn't be more ecstatic. I could go on. I don't know how long we have.
What an amazing 2 days of soccer, both domestically and, of course, in Champions League. And to see come from behind victories that way is just something that you don't see ever. You know, Tottenham could have laid an egg, and I don't think anybody would have said anything about Ajax moving on. And Liverpool, of course, to score 4 goals against Barcelona at Anfield on a European night in Anfield is just like mind-blowing, the kind of things that happen.
Let's put it this way. If you're a coach, regardless of what team you support, this is the kind of match that you show your kids, your players, and say anything's possible.
So right now we're talking about UPSL. New team applications are going on right now for the fall season. Teams are coming in. Where do you guys expect them to come from? I mean, the last time we talked about this topic, we were talking about potential NPSL teams coming into the UPSL. Where do you guys think the new wave of teams are going to be coming from?
Well, I don't have too much insight to this. There are teams that are still joining the league currently that we are working with. But as far as a new group of teams entering the league, well, there's still some states out there where we don't have any teams. You know, Montana, Wyoming,
my favorite state,
Hawaii,
North Dakota.
We have teams in North Dakota.
What? Wait, what?
And South Dakota.
Get out of here.
I think so. Dakota North Stars or Dakota Young Stars.
Just became my favorite team in
I think they're out of South Dakota. We don't have any teams in North Dakota.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I want North Dakota.
North Dakota, And so there's still room, but you know, slowly but surely, the league is sort of grappling with all those markets. I think, you know, we're going to see teams sort of begin to generate deeper tiers. You know, you're going to see the second and third tier, the championship and League One tiers in UPSL start to build up, and that's where you're going to see the real growth in the league. It won't be, you know, like a new, you know, Hawaii region, although that could happen, you know, but I think it'll be more like population of the lower tiers of each region. California's already at 3, potentially could go to 4. We've talked about that. Texas is at 3. It would like to populate that third division a little bit more and certainly bring the second tier across the Central Division, because it only exists currently in the North Division. So I think you're going to see teams, you know, in the mid to southern Texas region start to add. Teams in southern Florida start to break away and start to build tiers at a certain point. And you know, the Mid-Atlantic still needs to have, you know, some heavy growth, you know, in order to sustain multiple tiers. So I think that's where the growth will probably happen most, is in the Mid-Atlantic region up into the Northeast, and probably still more in Texas. I think there's, you know, 1,000 clubs in Texas.
What's going with Wazza Flow, though? I read something about Wazza. That was an indoor soccer team at one point.
They have teams across many platforms, right? But they are famous for their indoor team. They have joined the UPSL. They're playing in the Midwest Division in the Michigan, which I think technically is the East Division.
So are they just doing this to find players to bring into the indoor game, or is it just they just saw a great opportunity?
They see a great opportunity to expand their program. They have youth academies in both here in the States and in Africa, and so I think they're just looking for opportunities to grow young players into professionals.
Well, I mean, that's one place, we talked about this the last time I was here, where there's actual, you know, when we're talking about academies, what a great place if you have a team in, let's say, the indoor markets, that you set up a team with the UPSL, then suddenly you can expand your academy and bring in more people. So I was reading about that, thinking to myself, what's an indoor, you know, soccer team? What's a, you know, an arena soccer team doing, you know, in regular grass, you know, soccer? Well, yeah, like you said, it's a great opportunity to expand your brand as well as get into, you know, pitch soccer and then, you know, get your academy going.
There's multiple professional indoor teams now having a club atmosphere in the UPSL. Wazza Flow, Ontario Fury, Lakeland Tropics, just to name, I think, a few. There's several more. So
have you been to a Fury game at all?
I did. I covered Landon Donovan versus Jermaine Jones back in March. Yeah, when Soccers came up to Ontario. Yeah. So that was a big deal for major arena soccer. I heard the Soccers head coach asked me about the UPSL, which was interesting.
Really good.
You know, and see what we're doing and what we're doing down in San Diego. I told him about the new division that's popping up. That's a new place, right? We're getting more teams now in San Diego, and that division is going to start expanding rapidly. So, you know, look for more clubs coming to San Diego.
And of course, we're talking about new clubs. The deadline to apply is July 7th, so make sure to get your applications done. Still plenty of time left, but we're going to take our first break here in Inside the UPSL. But when we come back, we'll have Richard Menjivar from Cal FC joining us in just a moment. And fans, don't forget to follow us, and don't forget to comment your questions down below on all of our social media platforms, on Instagram, on Facebook, and even on Twitter. That is at UPSL Soccer. Welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TV EMAX. And now we'd like to welcome Richard Menjivar into the show. Richard, how you doing tonight? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing great. I appreciate you guys having me.
Pleasure to have you on the show. Just want to say congratulations on the victory on Tuesday night. Just want to ask, what was it like to get on the score sheet and on the win?
It was fun, actually. I actually haven't scored in a while, so it felt good to be able to get on the score sheet.
Richie, this is Dennis Pope with the UPSL. Hey, people look at the 5-1 result, and they'll probably make assumptions that it looked like it was kind of a blowout. But what can you tell us about what you saw on the field on Tuesday night?
It was definitely, a tough game. I think we were just very clinical in our opportunities. I think for the most part we did manage possession well. It was a very, very physical team, especially towards the end. I think they had better fitness than we did. But I think the guys did well. We have very experienced guys who learn how to kill the game off and finish the game off. So I thought we did well. But the other team was good. I actually played with their forward Fred Braun. We played in San Antonio together, and he had MLS experience. So I thought the team did well. For both sides. The other team was very competitive, but I think we managed to do well and beat the other team.
And this is your second stint now with Cal FC. Can you tell us a little bit about what's different this time with the club and your experience there?
I wouldn't say there's much difference other than personnel. I think the style has always tried to remain the same. Whether it be Eric Ronaldo coaching it or Keith. I think Mike always strives to have good quality on and off the field, and I think he's managed to recruit the right guys for this team, for this run. But the goals are the same as always. We always want to reach as far as we can in the Open Cup. I think we definitely have the quality to do so. But it's just about taking care of business. We got to take it one game at a time. Fortunately, we were able to take care of business last night, and now Vegas is another step that we need to see if we can, continue in our goals. So I think it's, for the most part, Mike has done a great job of, keeping the same goals, keeping the same culture and environment as a club and as a team.
Keith Costigan, the current coach at Cal FC, he had a role in you ending up playing at Cal State Bakersfield, and now he's the head coach again at Cal FC. Can you tell us what it's like to be playing for him now?
I think it's always been fun for me because I think Keith's always appreciated my type of player that I am. Like not just me personally, but I have a certain style that I like to play, and I think he knows that, and he tries to build the team based on those qualities. We see soccer the same way, and I don't think it's changed over the years. We've gotten a little bit older, which is probably the only difference. But for the most part, he still has the same philosophy, same mentality. He always demands, 100%, from his players, 100% professionalism. I'm enjoying it a lot. Now that it's been a few years that we've played together, we haven't played together. So, it's good to be working back together.
Now, as a guy that's played at multiple levels, what can you tell us about the level at which UPSL competes and compared to other places you've played?
I think I've said this before. There's a lot of hidden talent in these leagues. For some whatever reason, a player didn't have the luck to make it, or there's always circumstances that players don't make it, right? And they're still continuing to try to reach their dreams, which is playing professionally, and so they play in leagues like the UPSL. So I think the level isn't that much different. Of course you'll have maybe one or two teams where the level is completely drastic differently, but for the most part I would say it's very competitive overall.
Final question, Richard. What do you think it's going to be like to travel to Las Vegas and take on the Lights?
I think it'll be fun, interesting for sure. I think some of the guys haven't had this type of experience in a while, or at all, for that matter. Just to travel a day before the game and be with the team and prepare for a game, and you gotta take accounting the traveling. Sometimes it's heavy on your feet, on your legs, and how do you prepare physically, to how much rest you need, how much hydration. But as a player, I'm hoping we do well. As a team, that we do well. We're able to compete. We hang in there. I think physically they might be a little bit more fitter than us, just because they train more often than we do, but I think technically, we're right up there with them. So hopefully, we take care of the opportunities that we have during the game, and hopefully we can come out with a win.
And another question: how are you going to play against Eric Wijnaldum?
How do I feel about that?
Or how do you feel?
Excited. He was the first coach that I had with Cal FC. He was the one who took me to Atlanta. So, we've always had a good relationship. So I think it'll be fun.
Well, Richard, we appreciate you coming on the show tonight.
I appreciate you guys having me.
All right. So that's going to be it for Richard. But we're going to go ahead and step aside, and we'll hear back from our sponsors.
Mr. John manages a small football club with just a few followers. Every day he wonders, how can I attract more supporters? Internet is the answer, but a channel is time-consuming, expensive, and hard to maintain. Everything has changed since Mr. John met Mike Cujo, the football broadcasting solution for small and medium-sized clubs and leagues. Mr. John noticed how everything has started to change quickly when supporters and fans began to arrive. If you want your club to enjoy the same benefits as Mr. John's, sign up with mycujo.tv. Attract more followers for your club and empower its business now. MyCujo, democratization of football broadcasting. mycujo.tv.
Welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TV Emax. And now some recent UPSL highlights from The Right Stuff, the league's official partner. And those are some of the candidates for this week's Goal of the Week. We got a couple of good ones to choose from, but gentlemen, let's start it off. Which ones really stood out to you, and which ones do you think are probably not the greatest, but which ones really stood out to you, I would say?
I'm going to go with the one from Astoria.
Any reason why?
Because I just saw it on the little screen over there, and I thought to myself, wow, that was amazing. And, well, I mean, that's kind of the only opinion you really want. We want everyone. Well, why do you want my opinion? Let's have the folks out there go ahead and vote, right?
Yeah, they're doing the voting.
Yeah,
but that highlight comes from the first ever UPSL game to be played in New York City, which is momentous unto itself. But one of the outstanding things about this competition is Jorge De Leon, who won the competition last week from FC WACO. He's back again in the competition with a goal he scored this week. Some real techer skills. He flipped it up over the dude's head and hit it. I don't know if it was left-footed or right-footed, but it was a real banger. And so he's nominated again. If he wins, it would be the first time anybody's won consecutive
Doubled
weeks.
up.
Yep. So
That's prominently featured on your website, though. I remember when I went to the UPSL website, it was like the first thing I saw.
Right.
That was the goal.
yeah, it's the media that pops up on the website.
Yeah.
He starts playing straight away.
Yeah.
This guy's like a walking web gym. I don't know about you guys, but he had a good goal last week, and then he comes up against this week having another great one like that. And these are some tough shots that he's coming up with. These are off balance, not the easiest of goals to come in with, and he has a lot of pressure from the defense. He's at least getting defended by 2 or 3 guys at the same time. So some tough goals right there, but I mean, still plenty of time to be able to vote tonight. I mean, the polls will close tonight at 11:59.
That's right.
So people still have a lot of time, but from what I heard before the show, there was still a pretty tight race.
Well, let's give a challenge to that player. Let's make it 3 weeks in a row. How's that sound?
Hey, I mean, let's see if we can do it. I'm really curious.
I'd love it. Yeah.
So we want to see if he can be able to do that, maybe 3 weeks straight for you, Jorge. But remember, the polls do end tonight at 11:59 p.m., so make sure to get your votes. You guys can vote through any of the social media platforms. But we're going to take another break here in Inside the UPSL. But when we come back, it'll be time to throw on our swing shoes for our East Coast swing. Welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TV Emax. It's time to make our way to the East Coast swing as we talk about the pressing topics across the UPSL East. First stop always is the Florida, as Rosario Central USA and Independiente FC, both atop with 31 points in the promotional fight. Who's going to come out on top?
Well, it's not going to be Independiente. Their regular season is over. They're going to finish with 31 points. Rosario Central still has a game in hand. They still have a game to play this weekend against the Institute FC2, which is a second or a reserve team playing in the division, and so they're also winless this season. So it's a relatively easy matchup for them to try and get those 3 points. But you should really look out for a team named Aztecas that's in third place. They're sitting on 29 points currently. They also have a game this weekend. So if Rosario slips, drops points, and Aztecas wins, and I think they play Deportivo Lake Mary too, which is also like a sort of bottom of the table club. If they win that game, then they'll vault up to 32 points, right, and take the win potentially. So still things are in play there for that automatic promotion spot into the Florida Central.
So it's basically a 3-race team then.
Independiente, their season's done, so they can't win. They could potentially place themselves in the promotion playoffs, I think, but they're not going to win that automatic promotion spot, no.
But after all, they're going to want to. There's a playoff to get promotion. They're still in that. They're still in that race.
I'd like to tell you this, but I don't know that for sure.
Oh, look at that. So they.
I think there is going to be a 4-team playoff though, in the Florida Central for promotion, but I can't confirm that. At the moment.
Because it hasn't been decided about the playoffs structure, or are you talking about the teams?
I don't know if the structure's been set. The teams as they sit currently are pretty much the 4 that would play in the playoff, but I don't know how they're going to work that promotion setup yet. I don't know if that's been determined yet.
Now let's shift our way over to the Southeast as the world-class Premier Elite gets some separation over in the Mid-Atlantic North. Is it time for them to get comfortable or not yet?
I think they've found that space, that gap that's going to lead to them winning that division this year. Their recent victory over Germantown City put some space between them and Germantown City in third place. And also FC Baltimore dropped a game this past weekend. So they're sitting in a really good position right now.
Okay.
Alex, let me talk about the Atlanta Caribbean. I've been watching Club ATLetic do a lot of damage. They beat the Atlanta Generals, which is a great name, if you ask me, 8-0. And it's a team I think I'd want to watch if I was sort of in that area. With all the good scoring they've done, all the good matches they've played, they're not actually in first place in that particular division. It's the Forest Rovers. Forest Rovers? I would think Forest Rivers, but okay, Forest Rovers, which is fine. They're in first place. I'd like to see some more clean sheets from the Rovers. They're scoring the games that I've sort of been following. They've been winning like 6-1, 4-1. They've only kept 2 clean sheets so far, which I would like to see them, if they're going to progress and do really well, which I want them to. I'd like to see like a better defense on their part. But the Atlanta Caribbean, I think, is just a very delicious league that I've been sort of following since the last time I saw you guys. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and put it back to you, Alex.
That's pretty spectacular that you've been following the Atlanta Caribbean Division.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting there that we've moved over from the Southeast to the Atlanta Caribbean, which is great, but that in that division, the 2 Hispanic teams, Club Athletic and the Honduras Five Stars, have sort of taken over a little bit. They're the only 2 unbeaten teams left in that division, and leaving what is a predominantly Caribbean influenced teams and league, sort of looking up at them and saying, what are we going to do? All of a sudden have to catch up.
I find it fascinating because the UPSL has these ethnic groups that have come together and said, we want to sort of represent our part of town, which was very much like we talked about the U.S. Open Cup. It was go back to the 40s, 50s, and 60s.
Sure.
That's what the U.S. Open Cup was about. There was, for example, the Los Angeles Armenians or the Montebello Armenians. Well, those guys were pretty much U.S. Open Cup favorites. During
the Maccabi LA.
Maccabi LA, the winningest U.S. Open Cup team around. They're still actually around in one form, still around. So getting those other ethnic groups and showcasing them is really historically very American. So when I see Atlanta Caribbean and there's a Honduran team and there's a Caribbean team, there's a bunch of Caribbean teams, it sort of harkens back to the day that a lot of people in America don't even know their own sort of soccer history. That's what it was, even going back to the NASL days with Toronto, Croatia. was a Croatian team. You know? So we shouldn't be surprised that I like the historical aspects of it, Dennis.
So now we're going to shift our way over to the Northeast as the Lincoln Club Football opens up the 2019 campaign with a 2-1 victory over the Krajisnic. Big deal or not a big deal?
These are two more ethnic clubs.
Yeah.
Lincoln Club Football, predominantly Portuguese out of Rhode Island. Krajisnic out of Ithaca, New York. I think they have a Eastern European flavor to them. I think both these teams is just super early in the season. Lincoln Club Football, their second season in the UPSL, they played in the inaugural Northeast last season.
How did they do last year?
Mid-table.
Okay.
So I think they're looking for a better performance this season. A good start for them to get off to a win. Krajisnic, they did not play last season. This is their first full season in the UPSL, and so I think it's going to be. With a new club, it's always a little slow start. It's very rare that we find a club come in all of a sudden doing damage. It takes a special kind of group to do that. And I think, especially in as developed a soccer community as the Northeast is, it's going to take some time for new clubs coming in to find their feet.
Now let's move on over to the Midwest as the Chicago's RWB Adria wins big time with a 5-1 deficit over Old Bhoys in season opener. Do you think that the historical club is the favorite to win the South Division?
Great start. For
Is it
Adria.
Chicago?
They're in Chicago. He said Chicago, I think, right?
Chicago.
You put emphasis on
I added the accent on,
I was
on
like,
Chicago.
is it Chicago?
Adria, another ethnic club, based out of Chicago, been around since the 40s and 50s, maybe even longer. They've, been in competition with Bavarian for a long time and Ukrainian and all those clubs there. And I think this is the kind of start that they wanted last season that they may be getting finally this season. And, like Krajisnic in the East, last season was a rough start for Adria, so maybe the second season is, they get the program going a little bit easier. They know what to expect in the UPSL. They can plan and prepare for it. And I think it definitely showed in a 5-0 win over, who'd they beat? Indianapolis Old Bhoys. And Old Bhoys, another club, that's in their second season in the UPSL. They struggled last season too. They're getting their men's full program together a little bit better seems recently, but I think this is just another roadblock for them. They're very steadfast in what they're trying to do. Old Bhoys won't be deterred by this. They're going to push forward for sure.
I always wondered about having a team named the Old Boys and there's always the Young Boys. There's never a team called like the Middle-Aged Boys, right? I was wondering, could it be just us three going out and just playing or something like that? But
we could name ourselves that, but
I don't think we'll get any people watching.
No.
To sort of piggyback off that, divisions that have teams that are really strong, or one or two teams that are really strong or have been around for a while, they become the sort of the beacon for the other teams that have been maybe 2 years. So, for example, a team that's been around for 2 years didn't do too well last year, for example, is going to look at that team and go, well, this is who we have to emulate. So the idea of, and so to me, having whether it's parity or not, I don't really dig that, because you need that one strong team that you were talking about for the others to emulate, to come up and work harder and that's what essentially makes the league a little bit more fun. It's like, when there is that sort of upset, or you beat the number one ranked.
Sure.
So and it could happen with this particular division as well. And it doesn't matter what we say at this point. You got to go out there and actually watch these matches, because you never know.
Sure.
That 12th man is very, very important.
And generally speaking, hierarchy is good. It's natural.
Yeah.
Right. It what promotes competition.
Yeah.
And I think having tough teams in those divisions who are historically good, does things for those new teams coming in to look up to. Like a big brother. What can we learn? What can we do? What can we take from that victory, that loss, so on and so forth, to push our program forward. So you do need older teams, more established teams.
When I was coaching Elephant and Castle, our main rival was a team owned by this sort of really very sort of extravagant guy. And the team would show up one day with orange jerseys. I'm like, why is this guy wearing orange jerseys? Because it matches the owner's new car, and he rolled up in a brand new Lamborghini. Now we got to beat him, because he was so successful. The team was winning trophies. We really sort of worked harder to beat that particular ownership group and that team. So that's across that feeling doesn't change whatever league you're in. And I think that's the part and parcel of, if you're having established teams and new teams, the new team's always going to look up and always wants to beat up the established guys. So yeah.
So let's go to our final stop, gentlemen, and that's going to be over in the Central. Do you think FC WACO, who currently is perfect, they're 5-1-0, taking over in the Heart Division?
Wait, are you saying are they going to slip?
I'm actually saying, are they going to take it? Do you think so?
Well, judging by the goals of the week or the goal of the week category stuff, no, I don't think so. But no, they're not going to slip. But yeah, prove me wrong. The rest of the team.
They definitely got the guy to pump in some goals.
Yeah.
The Heart Division last season was won by San Antonio Runners, a very competitive team, and I think they're sort of in the mix still. But FC Waco's starting to pull away a little bit with these recent results. They could be, putting themselves in a position for a playoff spot, which would be their first. I think, this sort of recent run of form is probably their best in club history.
But last season they were like semi-finalists, right?
And the FC Waco,
Who was the Texas team that was?
Inocentes.
Yeah. So it's good to have you around, Dennis.
The Central Division is broken up into 3 divisions.
Mm-hmm.
Central Conference is broken up into 3 divisions. You have the North, the Heart, and the South. Right now, FC Waco plays in the Heart Central sort of division of the Central Conference. And last season, they played well, but I don't think they were a playoff team necessarily. And the Central Conference has grown so much and has so many teams now that, even last season's results sort of get lost in the rush. But FC Waco's run this season has been something
How many
special.
teams in Texas now?
There's 3 Pro Premier tiers, there's 1 Championship tier, and 1 League 1 tier. So I'm going to say there's upwards of more than 25 teams.
Wow!
Now.
If you can't find a team, in Texas, I don't know where. What more can we do?
And there's some teams that participate in the Southwest Conference that are on the total western edge of Texas.
Yeah.
That aren't even counted in the Central Conference. So,
wow.
Yeah, there's a Tapatio FC from
my favorite source.
There we go.
And they're out of Midland. They're connected with the Sockers, so Midland Odessa Sockers.
Yeah.
And there's, of course, a team in El Paso, Southwest.
Another one of my
Southwest
favorite
FC.
sources.
Southwest FC. Old El Paso.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah,
they're in New York.
There's lots of clubs in Texas. We were talking about it earlier, and there's more to come. I think
Yeah.
Texas is just a place that's full.
It's a hotbed.
It's just like Southern California, and you just have to give it the platform, and it's going to run with it.
Yeah.
So.
And of course, Dennis, the man that's always bringing us up with new teams. But that's going to be the end of the tune called the East Coast Swing. But when we come back, we'll have the West Coast What's Up coming right up. Welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TV EMAX. As we all say, what's up, West Coast, as we talk about the latest on the UPSL West Side. First stop, we do have the Southwest as Sporting AZ FC coming up with the win 2-0 over FC Grande. And I'm going to direct this directly to Dennis Pope.
Wait a second. Do we all say what's up, West Coast? Do we
What's
really
up?
say it?
We say what's
we say
up.
what's up. We look at the camera and we say what's up.
What's up?
What's up, West Coast?
We
Which
can
one
say
was
what's
the
up.
camera? I don't know.
Camera 1.
What's up, West Coast? Sorry.
Always.
I had to say it.
Always.
I didn't say it last time I was here.
Sometimes we'll say what's up, or we'll just do what's up, or what's up, or do the little.
Last
the little
time it
nod.
was subtle. You missed it.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
I don't do subtle.
They were just not.
Oh, it was a nut. It was so.
a head nod.
It was so subtle. It was subliminal.
Yes,
wasn't it?
exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
I'm sorry, Alex. Go ahead. Have a good time.
So we were talking to Dennis was saying the one team that does have a shot against Sporting AZFC was FC Grande. So I really want to direct this question to you, and I want to know your
So
thoughts.
much for that, right? But FC Grande did come back, and they whooped up on a team 5-0 the next day. I think there's just something special about this Sporting AZ team right now. They're really cohesive. They've got that group together now for quite some time, especially starting in their center back, John Goosey. He's just a special player, and he kind of sets the tone for everybody. So they expect clean sheets every time out. Doesn't matter who's in goal. They expect clean sheets, and I think this is probably just the first of many for them. But they will have to play Southwest FC, which was a U.S. Open participant. They made it all the way to that last qualifying round. So there is still some other tough teams in that division, FC Grande notwithstanding. I think FC Grande, they're still building, like we said last week, still getting to the point where they can challenge Sporting AZ. They just weren't ready, I don't think. Just not ready.
Was there like a bet from last week or something?
Well, we talked about it. Potential teams that
Yeah.
may come up on Sporting AZ. They are the most dominant team
Yeah.
in the Southwest. So if there was
what's their likelihood of them being in the final this?
Sporting AZ,
Yeah.
I think everybody thinks that they're the favorite to at least emerge out of the Southwest Conference. They're going to have to play the Western Conference champion at some point to get to the UPSL final. And so if you say that matchup is against Cal FC, then who do you pick, right? But as it stands now in their conference, they're the team to beat. So
Okay. Now let's make our way over to the Mountain region as Gordy's FC, also another perfect squad, 5-2 and nothing as far as losses are concerned among the remaining undefeated teams in that region. Do you think they're going to finish the season that way?
there's a lot of games left to play in the Mountain still, and they still have to play San Juan again. And so I think there's the potential for them to sort of emerge at a certain point, but right now they still have a game in hand. They're still a couple points behind, and so they're still sort of lurking outside the top of the table. But for a brand new expansion team, I think exceptional year so far. They probably will make the playoffs in the Mountain Conference, so they will be able to play that additional game. And who knows, once you get to the playoffs.
We'll shift over to the Pacific Northwest as schedule being finalized over there in Alaska. According to the national director, Matt Kalla, what matchups are you guys looking forward to? I know we're all looking forward to just Alaska soccer.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Something that we talked about last time I was here was the fact that the league itself has expanded so much in such a short period of time, and it's in, of all places, Alaska. I don't remember in history too many teams in Alaska, if any, when it comes down to it. And so it is going to be exciting. We're going to see such a cultural shift there. When do they play? Is it mostly indoor training? Is the weather is obviously going to be affected. The fact that there's going to be periods. Now I don't know this for a fact, but there's going to be periods where there's going to be more darkness and lightness, for example. So on and so forth. Where are the players coming from? I guarantee there's going to be at least one Brazilian on the team, and we're going to have to see that. Who is that one Brazilian in Alaska? So that to me is the story there. Whether the schedule gets done, in a certain amount of time or not, to me that's beside the point. The idea is the historical factor of Alaska soccer.
Sure.
It's stuff that as a kid you would sort of talk about with your friends, like, yeah, I wish there was a team in Alaska so we can go over there and play a midnight game or something. You never thought it would actually happen. So the answer to that question is not worried about the teams as much as let's get it started, let's see what can happen, and let's promote the heck out of it because it is really interesting.
So the 4 teams: Alaska City FC, Arctic Rush, Cook Inlet Soccer Club, and Olympia Football Club, which is a Honduras based team. The owner is Honduran. And so those are the 4 teams. I believe they're going to start in June is the first weekend of their schedule. And they'll play basically 2 games against each other to determine an Alaska champion. How that fits in with the rest of the season, the UPSL Spring and the National, I think they're still waiting on that, seeing how many games they can play. But the idea is they're going to play a bulk of these games in outdoor facilities.
Wow.
The reason they're doing this is so they can play during the summer outside, which is a thing that really hasn't happened in Alaska at a high level before. And so this is an attempt at that. They do have indoor facilities. One of the teams does play at an indoor facility. There will be some indoor games at some point in Alaska. I think that's a given, right? But to be able to utilize some of those outdoor facilities that don't get used during the summer for soccer is a major part of the push in Alaska. And I think you're finding the teams in Anchorage and the space in Anchorage right now, and you're going to be able to replicate that in Juneau and probably Fairbanks. The big cities up there in Alaska that people don't really think about, but these have populations over 100,000 people. These are big enough cities to have this kind of environment. And so this week, especially being able to talk to Mike Cujo about being able to see these games and get these teams online with the process and being able to actually see this visually is the major component to all of this. Getting the opportunity to fans from all over the world to be able to see soccer in Alaska.
Literally, if I was anyone in Alaska with a soccer team, I would be dialing up the phone to the big networks, the ESPNs and the Foxes and so on. So I'm like, hey man, this is something that back in the 70s would have been on,
Wide World of Sports.
Well, it was like a magazine show. This should be something that should be covered, and the fact that there's going to be a UPSL logo on it is only beneficial for the entire league. But that's also the beauty we've been saying about the UPSL. The UPSL is in areas where the soccer footprint maybe isn't that great in the higher divisions, but it's amazing, what happens, in the lower divisions. So yeah, to me, if anyone from Alaska is listening, make those phone calls, because there is a hunger for soccer everywhere, in every corner of the United States of America, and people should know about it.
So now let's talk about some NorCal. Got some action going on as Pajaro Valley United FC keeping up right now with Contra Costa. Battle right now for the top of the table competition right now. Who comes out on top? Who's going to come out in second place in this one?
I think Contra Costa is the favorite, just based upon their recent history. Pajaro Valley, I don't know or United. They're both right, Valley United. I think at a certain point they're going to hit the wall.
Why do you say that?
Being a new expansion team,
Okay.
Not having played at this level before, they didn't play in like Liga NorCal or anything up there in the San Francisco area. They're not in the San Francisco Premier League or anything like that. This is a brand new club to the UPSL, to men's amateur pro development at this level.
We were talking about this team a couple of weeks ago, right?
Yeah, they had a big victory, right?
Yeah.
So they're clearly talented,
Yeah.
but can they last?
But this is a team we were talking about that were just like literally it was the pub team that was formed. It was a pub team that they formed to come play in this league.
I don't know about pub, but
it was a club.
Yes,
they
they were just a small
rec
club
league,
side. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, we talked about this, how they were going to struggle, but they've held their own.
Yes.
They haven't been blowouts.
No, yeah, they've been putting up really good
kudos
results.
to them.
Sure.
So don't get me wrong, a pub team and a rec team is the same thing in my book. It's not.
Sure, just
not a put down.
different
in any way.
country, different. Yeah, right.
So it was a bunch of guys who just got together and they joined the league up. They got their money, joined the league up, and it hasn't been, hasn't been disastrous. They've been doing very, very well. But you're saying, well, lack of experience might be.
Just lack of
League
club,
Yeah.
expansion. The Contra Costa is a big club.
Yeah.
They have a lot of resources. Pajaro Valley, I don't know what their situation's like necessarily, but it can't be equal. They're not playing, I think it's a little bit apples to oranges against Contra Costa. So I think Contra Costa has the ability to go out and find more players, where Pajaro might be stuck with those 18 or however many guys they got. And I think, as the sort of the cream will rise a little bit. I think Pajaro's going to be an excellent club, and I think for years to come, they have potential to be something good. But I think Contra Costa already showed their level coming in immediately, and have proven week after week, that they remain the elite team all of a sudden in NorCal. Even the Nevada Coyotes and the Real San Jose's and those clubs that have been predominantly the UPSL's best up there, sort of fallen behind them.
Now our final destination is going to be over in SoCal, as the LA Wolves making some noise now. They got a new coach. It's Miguel Sanchez Rincon as their new 2019 coach. What help are they going to get from this acquisition as far as the LA Wolves? What can we expect from this?
This is a big deal. So this is a the Mexican national team player. He's played for Jaguares. Has played for Cruz Azul. He's played in Major League Soccer, I believe.
He had a stint, I think. I don't know if he ever made an official appearance, but he has been with clubs. Yes.
He's played, let's say, the Ontario Fury. We were
Sure.
talking about them early in the show. So this is a guy with a lot of experience, national team experience, Mexican international, coaching a team that it's kind of the jewel of the of the region. Wants to go places, and so what he's going to bring in is obviously experience. He's going to know players from Mexico that could come in and fit in, which is huge. We want people to come into a league that know where they can find players that can come in and not have to worry about acclimatizing to the the environment. Just go straight in and do that. He's definitely a guy who is smart enough to say, well, I don't want to go into media, and I certainly I don't want to go join an MLS club or a USL club. I want to ply my trade in the UPSL. It's win-win for the actual coach. It's a win-win for the team. It's a win-win for the league, to be honest with you, because this guy hasn't got any ideas of being on TV and being a pundit. He wants to give back his experience, in Southern California, and he's doing it at the right club. So to me, I'm thrilled. I'm tickled to bits that he's actually going and doing it. The idea is, let's hope that there's immediate success for the Wolves. Let's hope that that immediate success doesn't suddenly garner looks from other clubs or other leagues, and he sticks around for a long time.
This is just another indication of the opportunities that the league is providing to soccer people in this country, and I think it's fantastic.
So far, a pretty good start with the coach, with the Wolves being 4-0, as Dennis mentioned before. But we're going to take our final break here in Inside the UPSL. But when we come back, we'll have our final thoughts and our final goodbyes. But fans, don't forget to follow us and comment your questions down below. And follow us on all of our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and even on Twitter. That is at UPSL Soccer. Welcome back to Inside the UPSL, presented by TVE Max. As we bring you the final thought, now we have a question from one of the fans. And after signing up for the fall season, what dates are considered the start of the 2019 fall season?
That's a really good question. I'd like to have a really good answer for you, but the best I can tell you is probably the first weekend of September. The spring season national championship is set for late August, and so things will get going in Florida and Southern California again really quickly there afterwards. This last year, which is basically what I'm basing my information off of, it was the first weekend of September when games started going. So you can expect first weekend, second weekend of September as the start date for the fall season in Florida and Southern California. In other regions of the country, still to be determined. They're still working out whether or not to have a fall season in the Northeast, still determining whether or not to have a fall season in the Midwest. The weather was a big factor in preventing that this last year and kind of stoking the idea that it just wasn't going to be able to be feasible. There's going to be too many cancellations, too many suspended games and so on and so forth to make it worthwhile. But I think they're really trying to work on a plan to kind of keep the UPSL going year-round in all conferences. And so it'd be interesting to see what the plan is for that. We'd certainly let you know as soon as we find out. But I would say almost to a point, the fall season in Florida and Southern California will start like within 2 weeks of the spring season ending with the national championship game. So you can expect September 7th or 14th or however those weekends line up to be the start date for the fall.
Mm-hmm. And I actually want to ask Simon a question right now. I know we're going to go ahead and put it in reverse, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Richard Menjivar coming on to the show. But I just wanted to ask, what kind of matchup are you going to be expecting with him taking on Eric Wendala as far as him playing against the Lights?
Listen, man, listen. To me, as a player, I'm not even a player. Pretend I'm not even. But when I was a player and I was playing against someone I didn't like, it was once my mentor. I wanted to prove something. I wanted to beat the guy. So when I hear Richard say, "Oh yeah, I really like," yeah, true, he does like the guy, he does respect the guy. But if this was a street brawl, no, he wants to beat the heck out of that guy. He wants to make sure it's like, hey, guess what? Why don't you take me to the LA Lights or Las Vegas Lights? Why don't you do? He wants to do a beat down, old school style, and I think again, not a very professional thing to say, but that's what a lot of players feel. So going to Las Vegas, by the way, a really good place to go visit, a good place for soccer. I think he wants to prove something. So yeah, I also want to thank that person who sent that question in, because it's a very important question. So keep the questions coming. That's a big deal.
Yeah, we want them.
Yeah. But by the way, players don't change. They want to prove their mentors. Like, hey man,
but they're good. They're doing well. Hey, you taught me well, so I want to show that I'm always continuously improving.
You, for example, you want to prove everyone that you're the ultimate host, man. Okay, you got the best smile in the business, best hair. And you're doing a damn good job there.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Simon. Appreciate it. You're gonna make me blush right now on camera.
Yeah.
But that's all the time we have left. We thank you so much for tuning in. And, of course, we want to thank Richard Menjivar for joining us on the show. And, of course, always a pleasure to have Simon Allen with us tonight.
Listen, folks, just before I go, Women's World Cup is coming on. I know it's not quite in the wheelhouse here, but Women's World Cup, you got to, just like we support the lower leagues, we support women's soccer as well. It's coming up. Don't forget to support whatever's in England, USA, whatever. Thanks for having me on, Alex and Dennis, and appreciate it. Always fun to come out here. You guys are a blast, and hopefully I didn't cause too much havoc this time around.
We'll clean up pretty nice. We'll
edit.
Always a pleasure to have you with us, Simon Allen. And, of course, as always, we have Dennis Pope that was with us tonight. I was your host, Alex Naveja. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We'll see you guys next week. Have a good night, everybody.